Hello and welcome to this video on the Serial Instruments THUMP. Let's check out what's to come before we get into it. THUMP is a 6 HP low-pass gate Vactrol Based VCA with filtering and plenty of quirky, kind of lo-fi rich saturation as well. We have two inputs and a crossfader to crossfade between the two inputs. When you've only got one input, you can use this like a level control, which is useful if you want to push into or out of the clipping that this offers and the distortion. Amp CV is normal to an offset, which we can see brings these LEDs up and down, but simply raises the level of the gate. We have amp CV, which takes over that offset, and this becomes an amount control for the amp CV. The response knob there is a rotary switch with Vactrol Based VCA, and then steeper filtering as we come across modes 1, 2, and 3. The gain is a makeup gain because there's some loss inherent in this circuit, and it's good just to balance your overall level, pull it back out of clipping a little bit. And one thing to note is that amp CV is full around 12 o'clock, around halfway. So as you push past it, you're simply pushing into more saturation and more of this quirky sound. So let's take a look and listen to the sound and features of THUMP. Saw wave coming in, green trace on data, into THUMP input 1, back out, blue trace on data, and that's what we're recording. So as I turn up the amp CV, which is the offset by default, you can see we're certainly not getting a saw wave out. For comparison, that's the saw wave. This is the kind of raspier THUMP sound. And you can see it kind of half-wave rectifies and then curves out a little bit as well. Now the different responses, that's just a Vactrol VCA. We have increasingly steeper filtering. And here's that response with noise. I'm now modulating decay time on the envelope coming in too. And I think noise there highlights those tonal colours well. So here's a patch I've been jamming around with THUMP, which is playing against these drums. And it's sidechained against the kick. I'm going to leave that on for this patch. Now this is a mixture of my waveform coming in, a nice high 10 volt envelope slamming this amp CV into clipping, 16th note hi-hats there on channel 2, and it's really kind of screwing with them. These are played on 16th notes, but you can hear they're really being ragged around. And then I'm passively mixing this high 10 volt envelope and the same audio rate now modulation source as what's actually the input on that input A left hand side. And just playing with that response switch is working really well as a kind of performance tool, as is moving between these now mashed up hi-hats and synth sound. So although pushing into the drive and character and distortion of THUMP has been fun, and it's something I'm doing in this video, I wanted to explore its cleaner side. And in that VCA mode, we get a nice bright sound. This is a saw wave coming in, envelope to amp CV, and then these increasingly steeper filters. And a lower amp CV there. It's going to really push back into this filtering, so the makeup gain is then useful for pulling the level back up. Now when this is cleaner with a lower makeup gain, there is some signal loss, which hasn't been an issue, but it's worth bearing in mind when you're mixing this or processing it, that the signal out with a lower makeup gain for a cleaner sound will give you some signal loss. It will be a lower volume or lower level. So here I'm looking at audio rate modulation, and again the kind of drive and response and the quirks of thump. So I have two inputs here, which are two sines being blended on this crossfade and this audio rate modulation. Now the crossfade is quieter in the middle, and it will push out into the module's clipping on both sides. Different responses. Between the VCA mode and the varyingly steep filters. Audio rate modulation is very soft in modulation. It's got this lovely soft quality to it. Here's an already quite gritty input on a Krell type generative patch. This is a looping envelope, and every time it loops back round, it triggers lots of sample and hold, and that's changing my wavetable, the sub oscillator's wavetable, and the sub tuning itself. They're blended together a little bit towards the sub on that second input with the input crossfader, and I'm really backing everything off to be a little bit cleaner, but pushing into this character of the low pass gate. If I move across to just the Vactrol VCA mode, we can hear that brightness, some of that gritty kind of crushing that this particular wavetable oscillator has, but a much cleaner sound as well. Moving across to increase and add some filtering, we're pushing into that drive and character a bit more. So here's exploring the drive and character of thump with a drum beat. Simply drum beat into input 1 and coming out of the output there. Amp quite low, and this makeup gain kind of anywhere you need it to make up the gain reduction in the circuit. But let's push that amp CV into some drive. We're currently on just the Vactrol VCA mode. Different responses. Again, crossfading over to something that isn't there, effectively just reducing input gain. So here I'm using thump like a distorted backend for my synth voice. My sound is a filtered mix of oscillator waves with a modulated filter. That's on input 1. And if I back off, you can hear a near enough clean representation of the input. I've also got a sub triangle wave playing the same pitch sequence. And I could just simply drive this. I'm adding in this 16th note envelope. Gives this kind of in-time tremolo-like effect. Cleaner, brighter sound from that Vactrol VCA, but bringing in the filtering, the really characterful sound, blending in some of that sub. Here's something a little bit more abstract that started with no input modulating thump. You can even get some nice clicks and interesting textures just straight from thump itself with some effects. certainly gives this crush delay lots to go at in quite an abstract, textural, kind of echoing sense.
My mother's father's.
So that's it for this video on the Serial Instruments THUMP. You can support my work on patreon.com/DivKid. Leave a thumbs up and a comment, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers for watching.